Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a really exciting panel of folks and a really innovative way to view NIL and to support athletes. I am joined by Oklahoma State's brand squad, as well as Stephen Howard, who oversees social and digital at Oklahoma State, talking about a really great and innovative solution that they had to NIL. I would love for our crew to go around and give some brief introductions so that we can kind of get to know everyone on this call. I'll start. My name is Mark Jordan. I'm the manager of product success here at INFLCR. I've been with the company since 2021. Really excited to be here. And of course, I will turn it over to Dr. K.
So I'm Mary Beth Kosmeski, and I am a professor at Oklahoma State in marketing. I also am the founder of the Brand Squad, and I teach a class on NIL personal branding for our student athletes and for our students at Oklahoma State.
I can go next. Stephen Howard with Oklahoma State. I'm our assistant AD for digital strategy. So I oversee all of our social media, photographers, videographers, graphic designers, and help craft kind of our NIL look and feel from day to day. So.
And I am Hanian Rashwan. I am a current senior at Oklahoma State, majoring in both marketing and management, and I am the current brand squad president.
I am Michaela Franks, and I am a recent graduate of Oklahoma State University, double majoring in marketing and management. I'm going back to Oklahoma State in the fall for the MBA program, and I am the executive administrator of the Brand Squad.
All right, y'all. I am super excited. Mary Beth's going to tell the story about how Brand Squad came about, but could you talk about how this idea developed and how you started the Brand Squad?
Yeah, so a little bit about the Brand Squad. So I was asked by Oklahoma State the athletic department went to the dean's office and said, hey, we need a class on name, image, and likeness for our student athletes, personal branding, entrepreneurship, something, right? And so I said, great, I'd love to do that. They tapped me because I have student athletes in my family. I've got nieces and nephews that are currently playing D1 sports. And then I also have my son who played D1 hockey. And so as I was putting this course together, and the course is available now via Stukent, but I'm putting this courseware together, and I'm thinking, we have to be successful at this. We have to be successful because Oklahoma State doesn't have 5-star athletes. Like, we need to be able to continue our recruiting. And if a student in high school says, hey, how you guys doing in NIL? I'm in, I'm the class, right? And I thought, I'm not sure about this because basically what we're asking our student athletes to do is go from being a student athlete to being a brand influencer. And I'm thinking to myself, my son who played hockey at Clarkson, there is absolutely no way that he is going to find time to be an influencer, to fix up his social media, to respond to deal opportunities, to create deal opportunities. There's absolutely no way. We could barely get him to go to class on a regular basis and needed to maintain a 3.2. So we're like, you got to go. I mean, it was enough to do the hockey. He wants to go pro. He did go pro, but also to do the schoolwork and all the reasons that he was at the university. I thought there is no way. And so what I decided to do was to go to my marketing club basically and say to the marketing club, because I was the advisor, I said, I wonder if any of you would like to help me help our student athletes. So in other words, would you be willing to be partnered up with a student athlete and help them with their social media, help them find deals, help them clean up things, get a communication calendar, get more followers, do all the things that you need to do to be really interesting to brands and to be successful at NIL? And 50 hands went up. And I thought, oh my gosh, because all of a sudden what we had was something that needed organization and structure. And now we've got all of these students, and then we've got, student athletes. And so that's where it began. And I went to the athletic department, and Stephen, I'll turn it to you, but I went to the athletic department. I go, I have this idea. I know I'm going to teach the class, but I'd like to start a brand squad. And then, as Stephen knows, there was a whole bunch of lawyers that crowded in and said, "What do you mean you're starting a brand squad? What is that called? Or, what is this all about?" But Stephen, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about how the athletic department sort of started all of this and what your thoughts are on it.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, starting July 1 of last year, we were just like every other athletic department across the country, that we knew we were going to be charged with educating and equipping our student athletes to succeed in this NIL space, but we really didn't know what that space was going to look like, and we also are ill-equipped to do that. We're focused on fielding teams and hosting events and try to sell tickets. So by nature, we're ill-equipped to do this. We don't really have anybody on staff with this particular skill set, and we're all wearing multiple hats, as anyone at any athletic department could vouch for. And so, we quickly realized in talking with Dr. K and the folks from the Spear Squad, Spear School of Business, that the experts in this field are literally across the street. She's exactly right about the whole lawyer thing, but we didn't have to think about this one long. It was a bit of a no-brainer that if we could partner with the experts in this field to set up those educational opportunities, those branding opportunities, and then possibly even venture into that NIL space and helping our student athletes actually, facilitate those deals, that it was just going to be a massive partnership that would help all parties.
It just makes perfect sense to me. You think about it as you are an institution of higher learning, providing education and athletic opportunities to student athletes, but then at the same token, like, you have marketing students, you have communication students who are trying to get hands-on experience building a brand. It's like, to me, it makes perfect sense. It's wild to think that, you guys are leaders in this space, and that that we are all, for the most part, learning institutions. And for the most part, we all have schools that have students who are able to help and intern and work in these opportunities. So I was so excited to have y'all on this. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of ways that they can take some of these concepts and these ideas back to their own universities and start their own brand squads. But Michaela, I would love to hear a little bit about how you got started with the brand squad and why this opportunity means so much to you.
Yeah, so actually, I feel like my start in the brand squad is a little bit unconventional compared to some of our other brand squad members, because I was actually one of Dr. Kuzmeski's teaching assistants for the intro to marketing class. And one day she basically came up to me. She's like, "You know how to run a computer?" I'm like, "Yes." "You know how, like, you like sports?" "Yes," because I double majored in sports management. She's like, "Perfect. You're the perfect girl for the job." And so she kind of just fed me different things that I needed to be doing. And then it just exploded from there. So I was actually at one of the very first meetings that we had in conjunction with athletics for the student athletes. And I think we had about 50 student athletes there. She was just giving them the spiel, and then that's really how it took off. And then as the brand squads progressed, my responsibilities have changed. I'm very grateful for Dr. K and the brand squad. The brand squad was actually one of the reasons I got the current internship I'm in. So that's awesome. And I love not only supporting the students, but also supporting the athletes. I work mainly on our student side, whereas Haneen mainly works on the athlete side. And I just think that's really awesome. So.
I think it's amazing, especially as we look at this industry as it evolves, and you see more and more universities hiring directors of NIL, director or player relations, people who are focused on building this. Who better than students who have been working in this area, who've evolved with it, who have learned hands-on experience on how to be successful in here. You're going to enter this workforce and have a lot of opportunity because you've had this experience. You were there from the beginning and were able to start a club that benefited student athletes. So I just think it's such a great that y'all are doing this. Haneen, will you tell me a little bit about how you got involved, and then some of your first initial projects that you started and kind of how you tackled and identified those?
Yeah, so I kind of got started a little different than Michaela. The opportunity, as Dr. Kuzmeski said, came through Marketing Club, in which I was already a member of. And it kind of was just something I did on the whim. I was really unsure what I wanted to do in my marketing career. or what entirely I wanted to do after graduating. And I loved sports. I've always been a big fan since I was a little kid. So I was like, well, this could be fun and just see where it goes. And that's kind of how I got involved. And then I think it was not even a couple weeks into being in it, in which I was like, Dr. K, podcast, how do you feel about that? Which was one of the first things that I think I tackled on. And good Lord, was it a challenge from every aspect. But I think it was something that was needed. I think it's something that a lot of people have wanted for so long that wasn't available. And it was one of the first things that I was like, I really want to do this. So that was kind of the first project I tackled. There were definitely so many roadblocks that I ran into, whether it's filming, the whole structure, figuring out how we want to do this. Because a lot of the athletes, they have so much more to them than their sports. And we wanted a way to highlight the behind the scenes that we as fans and we as people don't get to see about them, how they grew up, how they were recruited, and so much more, which is how the podcast came together. So it was trying to figure out a way to portray that without making it too long. We don't want to lose people in the mix, but we also want to make it very engaging. And I think one of the first things I did, we ordered all the equipment. It was trial and error, trying to figure out the best equipment that worked, the best setup, filming on so many different schedules, from my schedule to everybody else's, to our host, to the athlete. And then marketing for it was another component. As the months and weeks kind of went by, we kind of locked down into a better schedule, and I'm now happy with the product that we have currently out. But I would say that's probably one of my first projects that I got involved with during Brand Squad. And then when I took on as president, there was a whole other mix of other things and projects that I kind of got involved with. But I would say that was the first thing I did in Brand Squad.
Well, and Haneen was so smart to say podcast. And I said, really, you want to start a podcast? It seems like a lot. Like, that's a big undertaking. But right now, our podcasts are the reason that we've got more student athletes wanting to come in the Brand Squad, because they see the podcast of their teammates. It's the reason we get Brand Squad members. It's the reason that we're getting sponsors coming to us. We get thousands of downloads on a podcast with a student athlete, and it's amazing. And I don't know, Stephen, if the athletic department, you guys get a lot of downloads too, but we might get as many or more than the athletic department does with the podcast that we're doing. And it's Tanine was smart. I would not have done it. She wanted to do it.
I also want to touch on one thing that I think is really important as we're having this conversation, we're understanding how this process evolves, is that it is a learning experience. What you learn on day one and what you learn on, your last day or your senior year, it's going to be completely different. And I think that we're all kind of still learning together. The NIL dust hasn't really settled yet. There's still different laws in different states. There's still different policies from school to school. So there's still opportunity to learn and there's still opportunity to grow here. And I think that it's really, really important that you emphasize that, Haneen, that this is a learning experience for both you, and it's probably a learning experience for the student athletes too. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We just have to be going in the right direction.
That's right.
Dr. K, what is the organization structure of the Brand Squad?
Yes. So the organizational structure, and this may change and evolve a little bit, but basically, as the academic advisor, I'm advising. I am not necessarily directing or anything else. I'm advising. We've got our whole executive board, if you will. We've got a vice president of membership, athlete development, marketing, treasurer, secretary. Michaela's our executive administrator, and Haneen's our president. And then we decided to use sort of the sports analogy and have some general managers who would run some of the things. We really needed to be able to split up the work, because when you start something like this, if you want it to be successful, there's all sorts of things that we could be doing and probably should be doing. And so we have a lot of people in the Brand Squad who help out. So we've got general managers of recruiting and general managers of the community development and all sorts of different things, so that we are making sure that we're reaching out in the community, we're developing good pitches for the students, for the student athletes, and that we really have this structure that works like an organization, because we are an organization. When we started off, it was me begging Michaela to help me, and now it's really an organization. And now not everyone has to put in tons of work because there's so many people that pick up the slack. So this is what our the executive and the entire membership structure looks like right now.
So as you're building out this workflow and this structure, like how do you educate and train new students into this? I'm sure you've learned a lot in your first year of doing this, but like what's that training style look like? What does that mentorship look like?
Yeah, it was one of the things that I was really concerned about, because, like I was mentioning, I mentioned the brand squad, and there's a swarm of lawyers that are around going, what are you doing? And I thought, I have to make sure that the students in the brand squad know the rules. And so I immediately put up on Canvas, which is our learning management system, an NIL compliance sort of certification, if you will. So they have to go in and read all of the documentation and take an exam, if you will, that helps me know that they know what the rules are. What are the difference between, international athletes and our regular United States athletes? And there's a lot of big differences, and there's things that we absolutely cannot do. But in addition to that, with the compliance training, I wanted to make sure that they had the brand training, the personal brand training. So students will go through either my 1 credit online or my 3 credit course to learn personal branding in the NIL space. The other thing is, I'm getting ready to put together a short course that everyone can take, and they don't have to go through all the tuition and all of that. But in addition to that, what we have are weekly huddles. And our weekly huddles are where we bring in people that are experts in different areas, a video expert or a Canva expert, or somebody that's an expert in media that can talk to our students in the brand squad and help them. And so we bring in people via Zoom. We bring in people from the professional athletic side. We bring in sports marketing agency heads and talk about what are best practices and what we should do and what we shouldn't do and how important certain things are. And then we have also in our weekly huddle, we talk about important things: followers, engagement rate, what's happening with our student athletes. And these are all really important. So we have a weekly meeting. Every other week, it's mandatory, but we do a weekly meeting because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of moving parts. And we want to make sure if a student has questions that they can come to their brand squad huddle and get those questions answered. So it's a constant process, as you said before, Mark, of learning. It's a constant process of learning. And in addition to that, we go and see the athletic department once a week. It's usually Haneen and I will go in on Tuesdays and just sit and listen to what's happening with NIL at Oklahoma State. And then we give a little report of what's happening, which makes everybody feel like they understand what's going on. What are we doing? It's not like we're some rogue thing going on. We are doing some things that the athletic department knows about and hopefully likes. So, and that, that leads me kind of to Stephen talking a little bit about some of the advantages that you've seen from the brand squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Our NIL working group has a great relationship with the brand squad. Like you said, they're invited to our weekly NIL meetings to kind of sync our operations together, because we can help them navigate some of the NIL rules that are in place both with the NCAA and here locally, and for them to, maybe gain access to those student athletes so that they could become brand squad members, because the more student athletes that go through this training, the better for us and better for all of them. And so we feel like a partnership is the best way to get everybody kind of on the same page. And because our number one goal, we want to make sure that our student athletes are educated on NIL and how and teach them the ways that they can take advantage of these things. But we just simply don't have the manpower or, the ways to give them that one-on-one attention like a brand squad can. You might speak a little more to this, Dr. K or Michaela or Haneen, but how this is a real one-on-one program. Like the student athletes are assigned a brand squad member who works with them directly on the branding and the opportunities. And like I said, being in lockstep with the brand squad has allowed us to kind of breathe easy, knowing that both our student athletes are being cared for within our own OSU family. This isn't some outside group, and it helps our compliance office and everybody feel easy, knowing that the rules are being followed and that things are going well. So.
Yeah, that is a critical detail. I think that was called out, is that every member of this group and every member of this club is taking a course, is making sure that they know the rules, they know to which they are able to assist and help. So I think that's a really important factor that I want to make sure is called out here, because having that background, having that education is really critical.
Eric has a question in the chat, which I'd love to answer. So he said, I may be getting ahead of myself here, but does Brand Squad work at all with OSU Collectives? And the answer is yes. And here's how we work with the collectives. So we have two collectives that came together and they merged as one. But the person who was running the very first collective came to me and said, we want our students that opt into the collective, that want to be a part of the collective, we want them going through the Brand Squad and making sure that their social media is good and that they are all cleaned up. We do something that I like to call clean up in aisle 14, which is my own way of thinking about when you're 14 years old, student athlete, you are posting stuff that you don't want out there anymore. And so the Brand Squad, one of the first things that we do is we go through and do a brand audit and see where they're at. How many followers do they have? What's the engagement rate? All of that kind of stuff. And then we look at, okay, what are some things that we probably should be taking down? And so cleanup in aisle 14 is really important. And our collective loves that because, again, just like the athletic department, they want to make sure that they've got the best presentation of our student athletes out there.
Thank you so much for answering that. That was a very good question. Thank you, Eric. Okay, so Michaela and Haneen, what does the Brand Squad mean to you? What is the most favorite project that you have worked on so far? Michaela, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so the Brand Squad means so much to me. It's hard for me to pinpoint because I've done so much and I've seen it from the beginning. But one thing that I've loved to see throughout our time is I love seeing people grow into their own, especially our students. I'm talking about our students because, again, I work mainly with the students. I love seeing them come in, maybe they're freshmen, maybe they're sophomores. You can see their confidence develop. You can see their knowledge develop, not only in the NIL space, but maybe they're a marketing major, they're developing their marketing skills. Like I got to see the evolution of Haneen. I mean, she came in, she did amazing things, and now she's a powerhouse, and I love working with her. So that's super special. I actually didn't know her before, but now we're friends, so that's super awesome. Friendships really do develop in the Brand Squad. Another thing is I love working with Dr. Kuzmeski. I consider her one of my mentors. And so it's very special to me. But again, I love supporting the students. And along with supporting the students, we're also supporting the athletes, which is really special. I like to call it, what did I say the other day? Dr. K, bringing ethical NIL to OSU. So
yes,
I like
ethical NIL. Yes,
ethical NIL to OSU. So we're keeping everyone safe within the OSU family, which I think is very important and very unique. Because I was thinking in my head, kind of like a metaphor, is like NIL is like a landmine. One wrong move, one wrong step, and it's going to blow up on you. So if we can educate not only the students, but also the athletes and prevent those issues from arising, it just helps everyone at the end of the day.
We were really fond of saying after the first meeting with the Brand Squad, with our main NIL group here in the athletic department, everyone in our group just said the exact same thing. This is easily the most wholesome thing happening in NIL across the country. So we appreciate you all.
Haneen, what about you?
I think Brand Squad means to me a list of things I could give you. Personally, from my point of view, for me, it's been kind of a career opener. I would have never guessed to go out and have a career in sports, and now that's what I'm getting ready to go do. And I think that's what a lot of people in Brand Squad have developed from this, is now they know a career path and they know what they want to do and they're confident in what they're doing. Maybe they weren't as confident in the beginning, but as they've gotten more involved with it, they can now confidently say, I can do this and I can do that and I want a career in this and that. And it's helped tremendously in that aspect. But also from an athlete standpoint, I think it's amazing seeing goals that they have set out actually get accomplished, because they have helped to get it accomplished now. Whether that is a certain deal that they're wanting or just a certain post or content, whatever goal that they really have, they can really get accomplished. Even if they didn't know how to start, we give them the path to kind of go and get that completed. And it's amazing seeing the end process of that. There's so many different ways in how this benefits both sides. But I also think it's something that a lot of us kind of loved joining, because it was something that we can really get our hands-on experience and take everything that we've learned and actually apply it to something without having to go too far out, without having to leave. It's right there at literally in the university. We didn't have to go so far, but I personally have learned so much out of the Brand Squad just in, I think, a span of like 8 months than I have learned in the span of the 3 years I've been in Oklahoma State. So I think that's another amazing thing. And going forward, I've loved seeing it start from just a couple little members in a huddle trying to figure something out to now kind of being a whirlwind, but a really good one. And just seeing the development from beginning to end and seeing how far this thing can go has been absolutely amazing.
Well, and
Awesome.
the thing that I've seen is that with particularly Michaela and Haneen, but with lots and lots of other members is, I mean, I knew Michaela, she was my TA. I didn't really know Haneen. She's one of the most extraordinary leaders that I've run into at Oklahoma State. Michaela has stepped up in ways I thought, oh my gosh, like it's amazing when you give somebody some passion and, you know, some purpose, and all of a sudden they start doing things that are literally amazing. So it's awesome. And I'd love to answer Claire's question, which is, do Brand Squad students help student athletes find, evaluate, and or negotiate deals? So the answer is yes. We help find deals. We help evaluate deals. We are not lawyers, and we do not necessarily negotiate deals, but we do have access to people who can help us with that side of it. But yes, we are out there looking for opportunities for our student athletes. Now, our athletic department allows some of that. It's a very gray kind of a line, but the athletic department is not out looking for deals. We're out there, and a lot of times the deals are coming to the Brand Squad now, and we're able to, you know, to sort through some of those things. But yeah, you have to follow your own university rules to make sure that you're doing it the right way. But even a Brand Squad that doesn't go and get deals is still doing amazing work getting those student athletes ready for those deals that may come.
Thank you, Dr. K. I think that was a very, very good point to make, is that you got to operate within your university and your athletic department's policy. There are ways to do this where you can operate a Brand Squad where they aren't doing that part of it. They're just providing education and social media audits and a lot of the other great, valuable things that are being done. Just making sure that we are each following our own university's guidelines and overall NCAA guidance. So I appreciate you calling that part out of it too. Just to touch on Amber's question, I'm not sure we should give out individual athlete information, but maybe talk about an example of something that you've helped with, and maybe just not name the athlete and just talk about the process of that.
I can speak to that a little. So I've helped athletes with a couple of different projects. I would say probably the biggest one I get is social media. A lot of them want to grow their social medias and they don't necessarily know what to do or how, or don't have the time. I know I worked with an athlete in which he had a really good idea, just didn't have the time to execute it. So I was like, hey, well, if you can at least give me an hour out of your time, 1 hour, film XYZ and give it over to me, I can edit it and do everything that you're wanting to implement in it. and you can run with that content however you want to go. Because they're busy. They have, if they're in season, good luck. But they have school, they have workouts, they have practice, and that is a schedule of its own. Trying to fit managing social media or working on other projects is very hard on their schedule. Which is, I think, something that we do very well is we take what they're wanting to accomplish and we give them kind of the easier route to do that, but we also help them, especially if it's something they can't do. So this particular student athlete has no editing capabilities at all. He doesn't know how to edit. Granted, from my standpoint, I had to learn how to edit, but I can easily do that because he gave me what he wanted to do and I gave him an idea. And as long as he followed it from beginning to end, we were able to accomplish what he wanted. But then I think more of a specific answer is you get athletes that want to do so much, but sometimes you have to look at what they're telling you and give them what they actually should be doing versus what they shouldn't be doing, I think is the harder conversation, because a lot of them have a lot of good ideas, but sometimes it's not something they should be doing for them, or you might see a better avenue for them that they might not be seeing. And I have had a lot of athletes that I have worked with in which their mindset was in the right place, but not the right idea. So it's definitely having those conversations and being very open-minded and helping them achieve what they want, but also seeing what they're not seeing and letting them know, like, hey, I think you should be pursuing this instead. It fits you a lot better. And just helping them in any way possible.
Thank you so much. Dr. K, Stephen, if another institution was looking to start something similar to this, what are the first few steps you think would need to be taken in order to try and start a program like this?
Stephen, you want to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think first and foremost, it starts with relationships with your campus community as far as the athletics department is concerned. Without that, I don't think you have the connective glue to kind of make this whole thing happen, because I think every campus has really motivated students that want to learn, that are a part of the business, entrepreneurial, marketing programs on campus. And I think also most places are going to have a professor like Dr. K who really wants to get into this space and help that school succeed. And so I would say it starts with relationships. And if I had to do it all over again from day one, knowing what we know right now, I would have said we should have been working on this last March. You know what I mean? We should have done it earlier, and brought this in under our umbrella for both parties, both the Spear School of Business here at Oklahoma State and the athletic department, to kind of create that cohesive unit. But that's armchair quarterbacking right there. So I'd be interested in your thoughts, though, Dr. K.
Well, I get this question all the time. And so I actually put together a whole website, because I'm on the phone with a couple schools a week talking about how do you start a brand squad. And so I put together brandsquad-training.com, but on there, if you go to start a brand squad, I have a free download of a get started guide. Like, it's just a quick start on what you need to do to get started with the brand squad. So it's a free download. You can download it. I also created an entire training program if somebody wants to know exactly all of the steps that we took. But the free download gives you that kickstart into, okay, what do we do first? What do we do second? And how do we do all of this? So that's what I would suggest.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for providing that and sharing that with everyone on here. I guess a follow-up question to that is, how would you as a institution make it your own? How do you build a brand squad, but then also make it unique to your institution and your goals?
Yeah, I think, with Oklahoma State, we have, as every university does, a specific sort of culture and personality. And it's through our athletics and through the academics. And this partnership between academics and athletics has to really feel like this is something that we have as our own. And the only way to do that is to engage the athletic department with academics and then bring in the students who embody that culture to help with those student athletes, so that it's not some outside thing we're just trying to do. This is something that is created organically inside with all of the people that really matter to the organization. And one of the things that Stephen mentioned before that I think is really important is we really care about the student athletes. Like, we care about their success. We don't want them to sign contracts with agents if it's going to sign their life away. And we help give them a little bit of, hey, probably that's not a thing to sign, or probably you want to show this to a lawyer or something else. But we really believe that we have the best interest of our student athletes in mind. And we are not, we don't take any money. We don't take a cut. We're not an agency. We are purely there and here to help our student athletes become more successful with their NIL. So I think you just have to start it and use your own culture and personality and how you do it. And we're really a nice school, right? We're a school where we're like the nicest. I don't know. I think our Stillwater won the nicest college town or something like that. And it's true. I'm not from Oklahoma. When I first got to Oklahoma, I thought I was being punked because people were being so nice, thinking, what is going on with this place? But then I realized that's just how everybody is. And so I think you just have to make sure that you're pulling the culture in as you're starting something like this so that it really is your own.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. I am going to call out, if anyone has any other questions to put in the chat, please do so. We want to make sure we answer those. But in the meantime, I guess for each of y'all, what is a piece of advice you would give to someone in your position at another school working towards these same goals? Stephen, why don't we start with you?
That's a great question. I think I just touched on it last, which is do it. And to make those inroads, to cultivate that relationship, but then to I would say to figure out the way that this works on your campus, meaning like everyone has different rules, everyone has different guidelines, and everyone has different philosophies about how these things should operate, because NIL is just one giant gray area for all of us. And so figure out where your area is, what you want to be, and identify that cultural base that you want it to be about, and then working with the folks on campus to put this thing together it's just huge. I can't encourage people enough to just get off the fence and try to make this thing happen, because it really is a game changer. And to be honest with you, it's what kind of sets us apart here at Oklahoma State, is that we have these amazing people just literally 150 yards from our football stadium who care so deeply about helping our student athletes succeed.
Haneen, What would you tell another student at another institution who's considering joining something like this?
Trial and error is inevitable. It is. I can't tell you how many ideas I've had that have failed, but you learn something from it, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's a learning curve, as we all have said. But I think the biggest thing out of it is take what you can from it, because it really will benefit you, regardless of whether you've had an amazing idea, it doesn't work out. I've had plenty, and I just have to sit there and be like, Haneen, it's not going to work out. Don't try and make it work out. But it's from that failure in which I've learned something from it. And I think that's the most important thing, is take a risk, go for it. If it doesn't pay off, technically it did pay off, because you're learning something from it. And I think that's the biggest thing that I would recommend to anybody, not to get discouraged. And just because something doesn't necessarily go out the way you planned it to, there's always a positive to it. You just have to find it. And I think that's my biggest advice.
Michaela, would you add anything to that?
Yeah, so I was thinking of it more from a administrative standpoint. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give kind of goes along with Haneen, like trial and error is inevitable, but you need to have those basic building blocks. Like, think of it as a car. You can't try to drive your car without gas in the tank. you need to have those basic building blocks, which you would think is a given. But as the brand squad has progressed and as we have built different relationships, some of those building blocks have come into place. But again, if we didn't have those basic building blocks to begin with, the house would have tumbled down. So you kind of just got to work with what you have, make those relationships. But again, before you even start anything, you need to have your basic building blocks.
Yeah, and I think that's what I would say. And I think the brand squad and I put together the website brandsquad-training.com, which lays out absolutely everything. So for instance, we do an autograph signing, which is the most popular thing that we do. The autograph signing has brought in so many sponsors and so many people because we got media for doing an autograph signing in the outside sort of horseshoe area of the business school, where we'd line up the student athletes. They sit on tables, they would do autograph signing. It was just amazing to get the community coming through there and really get a lot of excitement for all of we had students from almost all of our sports there. But I started this whole training program to lay out every aspect of the brand squad, so that what Michaela was talking about, the building blocks, you don't have to figure it out. We've already figured out we've made a lot of mistakes. We've been through a lot of stressful situations, but we learned a lot. And so if you want to learn what we already know, we put this training together. So on the website, Brand Squad-Training, you can see what we've done and learn. Of course, you can also download that quick start guide just to, if you want to just say, here's the steps, because some of you might just go, yeah, I know exactly how to put this together. And I know some schools are putting together actual agencies, which is a great learning experience, but we're not an agency. We're just a club on campus. So everything from our how we organized the brand squad to the club structure to the constitution and to how we work with student athletes, how we pair student athletes, what are the different reports and things that we make our students fill out so we know what they're actually doing with student athletes on a every other week basis. We've got all sorts of different forms we make people fill out so they can become part of the brand squad, or if an athlete wants to opt in, all of that stuff is there. Everything that we have is available, because my goal is to have every single university have a brand squad, because I think it is, and I've been at a lot of conferences over the past, I guess, couple months in athletics and all of that. And it's just the only thing that I've ever heard of that really is a combination of academics and athletics is the brand squad or something similar to this, because otherwise it's all about the student athlete. Yeah, we're an institution and we've got so much to give to our students to learn about things like the brand squad, like Henning and Michaela were talking about. They both, want to go in sports now, and they're doing things, and it's amazing what happens when you give a student an opportunity in an area where they've got some passion.
That is a great way to close, talking about how this benefits students. These are all institutions of higher learning. This benefits students, and it benefits them to learn and grow alongside these student athletes. So couldn't have said it better myself. I want to thank everyone. I want to especially thank this panel and this crew. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. I want to thank all of the attendees. We really, really appreciate it. If there aren't any questions here, or please feel free to reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with folks if you have any other questions. But we appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.